Yo, what's up, It's the one and only HipHopGamer, Hot 97, Logitech G is going down, baby. Now, look, before I even go in to who I have as a guest today on the show, I gotta tell you something, you know what I'm saying? There's this podcast, right, called Spawn on Me, you know what I'm saying? There's this dude out here, I don't know his name, but he just out here collecting awards, you know what I'm saying, for being great, you know what I'm saying? And I just want to thank him, want to give him his flowers while he's here. I want to give it up for the one and only Spawn on Me podcast, the infamous host, the Black and Gaming Award winner, Kahlief.
Yo.
My dude, what's up, baby?
First of all, I got to give you massive love and massive props, man. I got to give it up to you. We are of course rocking that Logitech G gear. I see you over there with that joint.
You see
you over there blinging out with the blue joint with the Fuser joint on. I got the Spawn on Me colors rocking with the LEDs right here. I see you, fam. Got the joint on right here. I see you. See, we Logitech fam fam.
Yeah,
thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for the wonderful intro. Of course, you've been in the space for a very long time. Before I even got here, you were here rocking it, killing it, making it happen. So you laid the foundation. I get to walk in your steps, and we get to make it dope.
Yo, bro, man, much love and thank you, man. That's humbling, bro. So, let's get right to it, man. The feeling, the feeling of not just being nominated, you know what I'm saying, but the feeling of getting it, the feeling of winning it. You know what I'm saying? We seen LeBron James and AD get it yesterday. You know what I mean? But how do you feel like just winning it? Like, what does that mean for you? Because I understand the barriers especially barriers that we gotta go through. You know what I'm saying? So personally, what was that like for you, out the gate when you knew you was getting that, B?
I had my own little LeBron moment, right? Where I was like, I want my respect too. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It was one of those moments where, of course, massive love out to the folks over at Big for, one, bringing me into the squad to recognize the work that I do with Spawn on Me and this work that's gotten done over at Spawn on Me over the past 7 years at this point. Getting a chance to produce that show was huge. I don't think a lot of people know that I helped to produce that show.
Wow.
Alongside hosting it and winning an award. So I did the trifecta.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about, son. I love it.
So it's nuts. I mean, honestly, the biggest part of that whole conversation for me is getting a chance to rock with folks like Reggie Fils-Aimé. You know what I mean? To be in a class like that, we have Reggie Fils-Aimé, Mike Pondsmith, Kimberly Bryant from Black Rose Code, Keisha Howard from Sugar Gamers. You have all these amazing folks who, have blazed trails in this space and have made space for us to be able to do the work that we do. And again, we don't get many places to showcase and spotlight Black excellence in video games. It's very rare that we get a chance to do that in big ways. So getting a chance to do that in a space that we created, in a space that we own, in a space that nobody can take from us is brilliant, man. You don't get chances to do that. So, being able to be a part of that and win an award for, again, the work that we've been doing over at Spawn on Me was a blessing. It's super great. And I can't wait to do more in that space. It was real hype to be able to be like, yo, we had a concept, we came up with an idea, and we got to make that joint real. And that's rare. So it was super dope to be able to be a part of that for sure.
That's dope, son. So now I want to tell you something, right? And I tell this to everybody too, but when you have those moments, it's amazing, but then it's also about what's next. What's that consistency, the trajectory? You know what I'm saying? Where does it go from here? Because we see it a lot, just in culture, period. A lot of people get that moment and then you don't hear about them no more, or things kind of go away. So it's very important that we keep our foot on the gas with all the stuff that we doing and all the moves that we making. So for you personally, especially after that, what are some other opportunities that you could probably talk about or reveal to us now, on the show, where the next level is coming and we all got to pay attention to that as well? And how can we all be involved and support it?
Well, it's weird. 2020 has been a fantastic year for us. It's been a terrible year for the world, but it's been, for us, it's humbling to understand that you've had so many impactful moments throughout one continuous year. So a couple of quick things that just happened this year. So we got added to Fanbytes Network, and their podcast network.
Crazy.
huge network that saw the work that we've been doing. We've been polying that and brokering that deal for a year before that thing happened in a real way. We just had our Spawn for Good event where we raised, we had a $5,000 goal. We raised $18,000 for the folks over,
What? Yo,
for the
let's
folks over at,
go.
yeah, for the
Crazy.
folks over at Vote Riders to get, so that they can help people get their people out to vote. Which again, election year, which is huge. We're doing better numbers than we ever have with Spawn on Me. We're doing Thursday night football games with the NFL over on Twitch.
Wow.
Uh, Literally a couple of hours before we jumped on the call with you today, we just recorded a segment with the folks over at ABC and Good Morning America.
Wow, this is
Kashana Gray,
crazy.
Kashana Gray, Zombie Kills. We talked about racism in games, and we talked about that. Hopefully, that'll come out soon so everybody can peep that stuff out. So for me, it's always about momentum, right? It's always about trying to figure out good ways that you can build off of something that you started and then continue to have that momentum carry you throughout the rest of the time you're doing it while still hustling, because you can't stop hustling.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a very long time. You've been in the space for longer than I have, and you've never stopped hustling, right? So it's
Yeah,
like,
you already know how I go with me, son. I don't play that. I'm like, let's
but
go.
I, but I,
Let's
but
get it.
but that's the beautiful part about it too. And I think, when you talk about that spirit of hustle, right, it comes from a very specific place. I think I personally think it's, you know individual driven, but the places where you come from really reflect that too.
Yeah.
We're both from the East Coast. I'm from New York, you're from New York.
Yep.
That New York hustle spirit doesn't go away when you move somewhere else. Like, I've moved across the country, but that hustle spirit continues to push me forward in doing that stuff. So there's a lot of other stuff that I want to do, a lot of stuff that areas that I always want to touch. I'm always looking at different opportunities to see what we can come down the plate. And the beautiful thing is just like never saying no to things that don't feel, like opportunities. You always have
Mm.
to look at those things and say, like, well, what's the thing that I can do here that attaches me and the things that I want to bring to this into a bigger space that feels like it works and it feels good for you. So those are just a couple of things that's been happening
Well,
this
that's
year.
huge, bro.
It's
That's
been
huge, man.
madness.
Like, we gotta drop a couple of phone flex bombs on your joint, son. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy, B. Especially with the ABC noise. I love the fact that like, I've always been a firm believer of making people come to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'll give you an example, right? Like, if Jay-Z walk in a room, people gonna stop and pay attention because it's Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I get that. So in my mind, like, I always wanted to have the type of energy to where no matter what I do in business or whatever in everyday life, wherever I go, that energy that I got is gonna make people stop, pay attention, and want to know what's up and be a part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're doing that, bro, and I love it. So
Thank you, fam.
now my next question, and this is a personal question for me too, when it comes to you in particular.
Yep.
You have a distinctive voice, bro. You have a distinctive voice, man. When we gonna but when we gonna hear like your voice in like a video game? So like, if there's a video game, like top 3, top 4, right now, just in your head, especially with the launch of the new systems coming next month, like, what's a game that you like, yo, if I could be in that, that's like a bucket list joint for me. You know what I'm saying? What's that game, bro? Talk to me, son.
I mean, well, first of all, you broke the mold because you in Watch Dogs in one of the previous Watch Dogs games.
Oh yeah, thank you, bro.
Like you broke the mold on that joint. I would love to be in Watch Dogs Legion. I would love to be an NPC in Watch Dogs Legion. I would love to do that joint. That's one. Two, in 2K when they have the joint where you talk to you jump on your phone and they got the social media joint.
Yeah.
I want to be one of those cats in the social media joint that's like, talking junk to the cat who's the creator player.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yo, shout out to my man Scoop B, because Scoop B is actually one of those guys. Shout out to Scoop B.
Shout out to Scoop for sure, and shout out to the folks who are at me, bro, and shout out to all the cats, LD2K, all those cats, right? And of course, everyone wants to be in Cyberpunk in some form or fashion. Like, being in Cyberpunk would be the most unreasonable, super dope thing you could possibly do in that space. But I think for us, we've luckily been in terms of the brand, we've been in a game before. So we were in IDARB, which was cool. We were like one of the first games, one of the first podcasts to have our logo in that game.
That's crazy.
So which was fire. And then I also worked on a game on the back end in the PR department for a game called Tacoma from the folks over at Fulbright. So I worked on. I didn't work on the game. I helped them launch it on the PR side, So if you ever play that game and you go through the credits, you'll see my name in there. So it's it's small things like that of like I always want to connect myself again to the industry. I love this industry. I love working in it. I love being in those spaces where I get to talk about and be in those things. So like, do I have grand, visions to be in a game for sure one day? You see my big face up in that joint? Like, of course I do.
Yeah, man, yo, bro. Woo, like that. Like I said, man, you got that voice. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like when you think about it, like in hip hop, you have those voices. Like you look to Sway. Like you know what I'm saying? Sway is that he got that voice that how Sway. Like you know what I mean? It's Sway. Yeah. So I feel like when I'm looking at you, bro, you got that energy. You know what I'm saying? You got that power, in my opinion, when it comes to that voice in the moves that you're making. So I'm loving that, son. So now, so my next question is, we got the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 coming up. So I gotta ask you this, right? If you could only choose one, PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, what system would you go with and why? And when I mean only choose one, I'm saying if somebody told you that, for the next 7 years, for the next generation, the next 7 years, you have a choice of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. You can't, this is a hypothetical, obviously, but I'm just setting the question up like that just to see where your value lies in terms of how you look at gaming for yourself personally. So Xbox or PlayStation 5, if you could only choose one, which one and why?
Right now, it would be the Xbox Series X.
Wow. Talk to me.
One, because I have one and I'm playing with it.
I respect that. I feel that.
I mean, it changes my perspective in terms of like me actually being able to mess around with stuff as opposed to me being like in the hypothetical space. I think for me, besides that part of it, the thing that has gotten me more excited about what they're doing is that they're talking about stuff in terms of ecosystem. I think Sony right now is still, although they have like dope stuff coming, that Miles Morales trailer was fire. The Dark Souls stuff was fire. Like all that stuff is great. But I think with a month away of us seeing how things are kind of playing themselves right now, it feels like I just don't have enough information to even say Sony in a real way yet, because they haven't shown me all the goods yet. Like I know when I'm looking at the Xbox perspective that they're talking about it from, if I want to enjoy the stuff that they have, I don't even need a console to do that joint. Like I can play on PC, I can play on my phone, I can play in all these other ecosystems, and those ecosystems all talk to each other. So I'm at some point, even if I get the Xbox Series S and I don't get an X, I still have the opportunity to be a part of that ecosystem and enjoy things like Game Pass and all those other things. So I think Game Pass is super future forward looking. It is a brilliant and smart move by Microsoft. I think, again, them talking about games in a bigger way that's not just about the physical console and talking about how you can connect those things to your PC and connect to other devices is brilliant. The conversation they just had about, getting around Apple, Apple Store
with the web based, it's kind of like how, not exactly, but kind of like how, if you look at Parsec. Parsec game. I love Parsec. But even if you go to, I think, retrosomething.com where everything is just browser based and it's instant, so that's their way around, those situations. So
and it's smart. And I would think that, again, like I'm very excited for what Sony's gonna drop. I already got my pre-order in. I'm hoping that my credit card don't freak out and wild out. But it's one of those things where, for me as a consumer who wants to be able to feel like I know what's happening, I don't know what's happening yet. And that part to me is a little bit scary because I'm going to be dropping not just $500 on a console. You got to buy controllers. You got to buy all this stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I shared on the Kind of Funny show earlier this week was a revelation I came to was that I've been playing in the in the Sony ecosystem for a very long time. Like this generation, the current PS4 generation, all my stuff is on that console. Now seeing what Microsoft has been doing in terms of quick resume and load times and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, man, I might have messed up by not getting all those older games on those systems, because then I could be using them when I wind up going to the Xbox Series X. So there's a lot of conversations there to jump into, but that was a fantastic question. I appreciate that.
Dope. So now I got a couple more questions for you, son. Yeah. So I'm HipHopGamer, so I gotta hit you with some hip hop questions, bro.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? So right now, I feel like like back in the day, how you had, Biggie and Pac
Hmm.
and Jay and Fab and Jada Kiss, like all of those greats, Eminem and all those greats. I feel like in this era right now, this generation right now, my personal greats is like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, but also a lot of the battle rappers. Like I love like Murder
Ooh,
Move, DNA, Charlie Clips, I go on and on. So there's a whole bunch of them. What I want to ask you is when it comes to hip hop,
yeah.
does hip hop still impact you to this day in a major way? Or do you feel hip hop from back in the day, which is like the golden age, the 90s or early 2000s, impacted you more? Like what
Ooh.
era of hip hop you feel had the biggest impact on you culturally?
The era between 97 and about 2005. So around in
Ooh,
that
okay.
grouping is where a lot of my stuff lays. I mean, there are other artists now that I feel like are super important and folks who when I just listen to, classic beats they drop and stuff like that, I'm just like, ooh, that stuff hits.
Yeah.
But it's like for me, newer artists, well, not newer because they're not that new, but like I still am a big LB fan. Like I love Little
Mm,
Brother. I still love like Odyssey. I love like all those kinds of cats because that to me feels like grown people music. You know what I
ooh,
mean? Like it feels like grown
gotcha.
people hip hop where it's like it's talking about stuff.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
the
just talking
substance is
about
real. Like, yeah.
substance is real. Like I don't feel like the substance is there. At least it's not things that resonate with me as a 42-year-old. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like it just doesn't hit for me in the same way where I see cats talking about all I got the drip on, I got the stuff. Like it doesn't do anything for me because I ain't dripping nowhere. I'm broke like that. I ain't got dough to be dripping nothing. I drip sweat. I drip that. I ain't got no drip money. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh
it's
man.
so you know what I mean. So it's like it depends. For me, it's there are amazing artists that are out right now. The music just doesn't resonate for me in the same ways that older, a couple like 10-year ago music and even 5-year ago music
Yeah.
hits in that same way.
So what artists from that 97, 2005 era, what artists or artists, a couple of them that you feel is like, yo, this artist got me through a moment, like got me through some times. Like this artist,
Oh,
yeah, something like that, impactful like
ooh,
that.
like early Lupe, like
Oh,
like
okay.
this, like De La Stakes' High album.
Ooh, okay.
Like, oh man, like MOP,
Oh
like
man,
like I mean, because think about it though, we had like and this is the dope part about that era. And then, again, you can go back a little bit further back and you can go a little bit forward ahead. But I think you had so many different artists that fit a mode, right? And they fit a mood. The music now, it fits a mood, but that mood is like a big section. And it's
yeah,
all kind of the same mood with little differentiations in it. But that part of that era, like you're like, yo, I need a party joint. You're like, I need whatever you got right there. I need something to amp me up. You go throw Annie up on.
oh
You
yeah, that's
throw
classic.
like you know what I mean? Like you can pinpoint stuff that you were like, I have an emotion and I need a song that goes with that emotion. You can do that within that era. I don't know if I can necessarily do that same thing with the newer cats who are out now. It feels different in that way, where it feels like a lot of it is the same emotion, but it's just a lot of the same song saying about that one particular emotion, if that makes
No, that makes perfect sense, bro. Yo, I'm gonna have to clip that. I'm gonna have to clip that. That's a clip
sense.
that moment. So I'm gonna have to clip that. That is so true. That is so
Yeah.
true. It's so funny because we talk about diversity, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lack of diversity within the context of the content that we listen to in hip hop.
Oh my
And what
God, yes.
and what's so funny is it's not that it's not there, it's just
Yeah.
not promoted and pushed out the same way. So it appears as if it doesn't exist. It's just that you got stuff that's thrown at you, and then you got the other stuff you gotta find. The problem
Well, that's
is, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, like you hit the nail on the head, right? And that's always been the case when it comes to hip hop music. Has been so many different dope artists that you may never hear about because that's not what gets pushed out into the forefront.
Right,
You can even say that with the conversations that you have with Cardi and Megan, right?
right.
Like Cardi and Megan do dope music, and there are other artists in that space that do really great music too, but you would never know that they're there because those two people hog up most of the space. Now mind you, that's not their fault because they're fantastic artists, but that is the level. That's the layers of the industry of doing industry stuff.
Yes, and you already know how that go. So it's
And
like,
you know how that go.
yeah, you know how that go, because I feel like just as well as you got a Cardi B and a Megan Thee Stallion, I think people like, Rhapsody should be pushed out a lot more. You know what I'm saying? I mean, think about it. If Rhapsody was pushed just as much as a Cardi B, then we create balance. And balance allows us to appreciate everyone fairly instead of getting tired of certain people that's great faster.
Yeah, and you nailed it. You should clip that part too, because that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah, because I think it's a gift and a curse being out there so much in one direction. You know what I'm saying? Because you get exposed too by your lack of ability to do something different. So it's like, yo, this is I love these conversations, bro.
I love these conversations.
This is because the context. This is what people need to hear more. You know what's so funny? As we doing this interview, I just got a phone call, and shout to my boy Weapon X. But me and him be having conversations like that. So it's just so funny. I get a phone call while we talking about what we talk about. This is crazy, B.
But even think about this though, right? It's like even when you talk about the the breadth and depth of MCs and how long they've been in the game. So like you have Megan and Cardi, who have been in the game for probably around 4 to 5 years each, right? If you think about the length of their time in. Even the music that they did in the early parts of their career is so very different than the stuff that they get pushed out now. So they're almost two different artists when you think about, and you should have growth in that space.
Right.
But then you see the music that come out and do you actually call that growth? Or do you call that commodification of what's hot? And it's hard to know. It's hard to know because we never see them get the chance to do the other stuff that they used to do. Because now the other stuff that's hot is what gets them spins.
Yeah.
So it's a hard conversation, right? And that happens across all artists, right? Except for the cats who don't make it big.
Nah,
cats who don't make it big stay the same. They stay dope and consistent, but they stay the same because they don't have that other expectation to do things that are out of their circle. So there's a conversation there about all that for sure.
That's amazing. So now for my final question, right? Well, actually, I got 2 more questions left. But before I get to my final question, I have a major question, but I got to put this into context in a major way. One of the biggest topics that we just had in the culture was dealing with development crunch. So on one side, CD Projekt Red was like, we understand crunch ain't a good thing, but it was taken out of proportion. It wasn't really like what it was spent out to be. That's one. Then on the other hand, like Paris and I just want to give a big shout out to Paris. He recently lost his mom. So rest in peace to his mom. Love you, Paris. We love you. We your brothers. We here for you always. You know what I'm saying? So salute to you, bro.
Love you, fam.
When Paris was talking about, even though they had their moment, let's celebrate the fact that they got to the finish line. And I'm with that 100%. Because you're going to have the bumps along the way. Even with Xbox, you're going to have bumps along the way. Look at Halo. That didn't come out the way that needed to come out, the way that was looking. But when it finally releases, we all going to celebrate because at the end of the day, it ain't easy. So respect to them. Thank you in advance early for that. Then on Jason Schreier's side, I didn't see everything, but I know a lot of people mentioned that he was like promoting a book, and I think he utilized the promotion of his book to also capitalize on the crunch news, and it was kind of distasteful in the timing or something like that. But that's what happened on his side. So I recently did an interview with Adam Boyce. So shout out to Adam Boyce.
That was a fantastic interview, by the way. That was dope.
Oh, thanks, bro. I didn't even know. Oh, wow. Yo, much love, man.
No, I peeped it. As soon as I saw Adam on there, I was like, oh, and y'all doing the joint. I was like, yo, this is going to be dope. So good job on that.
I appreciate that. He's a hardcore hip-hop head, too. But we'll talk about that another time. So with Adam Boyce, he was talking about just give me your best 40. Like, they don't do crunch at all. Just give me your best 40. Because he used to be the guy that was a prick to his people, and so he gets it. So my question to you within all of that context, how do you handle situations where you're a leader in your position and you may not be able to always make people happy? You know what I mean? It may not always come out like that, but at the end of the day, you got a job to do, and you got people that's watching that wants to be impacted by what you deliver. Like, how do you handle that situation overall in your field, directly with Smart Me and what you're doing? How do you handle that level of leadership and pressure at the same time? And what do you feel people could learn about the Jason Schreier and Paris situation that unfolded?
Well, let me dig into the Jason Schreier Paris stuff first. I think that the space in there that wound up happening was really interesting, right? Because it has Paris, who both straddles the line between being an influencer, being media, and being a fan of the work that CD Projekt Red is doing with Cyberpunk. And then you have Jason, who is an investigative journalist, who's doing something that is very, very different than what Paris is doing. Right? They have two very different jobs. They have lots of different obligations and have lots of different rule sets. Right? So when I rolled up on that conversation, of course, again, you have to take Jason Schreier and his online persona into account. You have to take Paris and his online persona into account. Like again, I know Paris for years. I don't know Jason at all, right? Except for
Right.
what I see on the internet. I know Paris is a really genuine person. Like he understands the business. He's not a person who's just going to take a side for the sake of taking a side. And he's also been a person who I know who will say the thing that is uncomfortable because it's the truth, right?
Right.
Jason, on the other side of that conversation, I've seen be, kind of dismissive and kind of be, a jerk to people when it comes to understanding that a major thing that he covers is around crunch. Now, again, crunch is a terrible thing. No one wants to see their families have to work extra hours and do all sorts of stuff. You're away from your folks, you're away from your family, you're away from being there for all of them, and you're having to make and pull these extra hours for a thing that you more than likely love. Most people don't kind of do this work if they don't love it at this point, right?
Absolutely.
But I think that there is a space there to let people have their flowers while also saying that you don't believe in the thing that goes along with what got that piece of content or that piece of product out into the world. I think everybody who's reasonable can can balance that out in a reasonable way. And I think that particular conversation that happened on Twitter was literally Paris being like, "Yo, fam, like you have all the ways in which you can talk about this, and you have all the ways in which you can speak on this, and you have multiple times, and you're doing a fantastic job. Why have to twist the knife a little bit with the way that you shared that conversation out?" Me having been in that conversation with both of them, online on Twitter, Jason shared that he was like, "Look, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I wasn't trying to be an ass when I said what I said." And I was like, for me, as a person kind of on the periphery of that conversation, I have to take them at their word. I can't have an ulterior motive with Jason Schreier to be like, well, he said this thing, he didn't mean it. I'm gonna take you at your word. I also understand what I see every day, every time I see you jump into these conversations too.
Right.
So it's not like none of these things have context in the way that we talk to people. Of course, you should be trying to be nicer to people on the internet. The internet is a place where people get hated on all the time and people do hateful things all the time. I feel like this, and I see you do this all the time, and I see other people do this all the time, where the energy that we put out into the world, we want it to be good energy, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
that good
most
energy
definitely.
comes, the energy comes back to you in good ways if you continue to do that. And we see that the conversations that Jason Schreier has in multiple places are super important to the industry. The delivery is what sucks because the delivery
Mm.
delivery feels gross in many ways. And there's a lot of people on the industry side who would be like, "Well, it doesn't matter as long as you get out the message."
No,
But
no,
then
no, no,
again,
no,
you
no.
too
It matters.
no, of
Delivery
course it does.
matters.
Oh,
Delivery
of course it
matters. Go ahead,
does.
continue. I'm sorry, but yeah,
Yeah,
delivery matters.
it matters again. Like the idea around like you don't have to say a thing with a hammer to get things done all the time. And if the hammer is the work, then the hammer is the work. And he's done fantastic work. He continues to do fantastic work. So, that's the thing about the Jason Schreier and Paris thing. Again, like you don't have to be a jerk to get your point across, especially when you're that good. Because then it feels like you haven't done it before. It feels like a rookie mistake when you're not a rookie. You're an all-star. You shouldn't have to do that work in that way to make your point. So that's one thing. The other part of that conversation and that question about like how do you deal with leadership? Spawn and Me was a two-person team when we started. The fam Cicero Holmes, who's now doing fantastic work over at Rivals of Waterdeep, is brilliant. He's doing that work. He helped start the show. We brought on Sharif Jackson later on. After having done work with him in a show that we did like way back in the day called Character Select back on Google Plus when that was a thing.
Wow.
And then for a small stint, we had Tanya DePass on the show as well on the show. Brilliant people who are now doing fantastic work in other parts of the video game industry. One of the hardest parts of doing this work was having to split that team up. It was super hard. And it was not a thing that I loved to do. It was a thing that was very, very difficult. But me as a leader, I have standards. I have standards of what we need to do. You and I follow one of the best people on the planet, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah,
Gary
shout out to
V.
Gary V. That's my dude. All
Gary
day,
V.
son.
Gary V saved Spawn on me, and he has no idea that he did that. So
Are you
Gary, if you're listening to
serious?
this, absolutely, because there was a moment, because I follow him on social, I follow him on Instagram where he does most of his work, and Gary had this one video that he talked about people matching your energy, and that one video of people matching your energy conversation automatically flipped everything for me in terms of being a leader for the show.
Wow.
And the fundamental part of that conversation was like, if you have people who are not pushing in the same direction as you got to let them go, and you got to do it.
Mm.
If we're not pulling in the same direction, we can't continue to do the work together. And it doesn't mean that I have beef. I love those cats. They are like, Spawn on Me would not be where it is without Reef and C. That is totally 100% true. This show would not be where it is right now without Reef and C. There's a difference between where we were able to go during that part of the process and where we are now. Now that energy is it was never negative. It was just wasn't moving in the same direction together. And some of that is on me. I will absolutely, as a good leader, you have to take that onto your own chest and be like, where did I fail the team? Then you have to talk about, was communication bad? How was that on me? It was a lot of self-reflection that went on during the part of the conversation after there was the breakup that led to people leaving, um, where I took that on personally and was like, am I doing things wrong here? And how do I change that conversation so that if this does happen again, I can be a better leader to other people and continue to do that stuff out. And again, that's like Gary V, man. Gary V saved my show in lots of
Wow.
different ways. He saved the show. He has helped me to push forward in different ways I never thought I could. He gave me the ability to understand when to say no and how to say no in a way that doesn't feel bad, but understands that that's the only thing that's going to help you move forward. I love that cat. Like, if there's
Yeah.
one person I want to get on the show, you talk about bucket list people, I want to get Gary Vee on the show to
All
talk
right.
about that and give him the love that he deserves for that.
All right. So check this out, right? 'Cause I'm not sure if, like, and stuff like
Oh,
that.
I peep
Oh,
everything.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
I
So then,
know.
all right, cool.
I peep
So,
everything.
so you know me, I'm very spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
So even though we live on the show right now, I'm gonna call shout out to Tyler. You know what I'm saying, Tyler?
Shout out
That's
to
my
Tyler.
bro. I'm gonna call
Tyler's good
Tyler
people.
right now, and I'm gonna see if he picks up the phone, and because he needs to know, because Tyler is one of the like great geniuses right alongside Gary V. And I'm gonna see if he picks up the phone. If he picks up the phone, like I got
Tyler's that
he,
dude.
he needs to know what's up.
Tyler's that dude. Tyler's
I hope he picks
definitely that
up.
dude. That would be fantastic if he picked up.
Oh, come on. I know he's probably busy, but
That man's probably always busy.
Your call has been.
all right, okay, all right. He's busy. All right, you know what? All right. So you know what? I'm gonna try something else because what you just said is so powerful, and I know Tyler. Like when it comes to content, they don't play. And this right here, this moment is crazy. So I'm gonna.
While you're working on that part, I'll share a couple other gems real fast. I think one of the things that if you are thinking about leadership
Right.
in a real way, you have to try to figure out ways that you need to maneuver that set your team up for success. As a huge part of the conversation, it's a huge part of the equation. Is if you can think about ways to set your team up, if not even just for folks who are in your intimate circles, people who you have in your extended circles, that is fantastic because then those folks remember that and they understand that you help them get to whatever levels that they wanted to get to. So that's a huge part of that thing. Don't hoard information. Don't hoard knowledge. It's not worth it. There's enough cake out here for all of us to eat. There's enough opportunities for all of us to eat. There's so many different ways that we can do dope stuff in this space. And this is especially for my POC folks, especially for my Black and brown folks, where we talk about often how there's not enough spaces for us. One, we're making our own spaces all the time.
Facts.
The difference is the conversation has changed a lot into how do we make our own spaces to how do we get white people to notice that we've made our own spaces. That's not the move. That has nothing to do with you making moves. That has to do with the idea of gatekeepers, which is true and real and not a fake thing. But knowing that at some point, because we are the culture, and I say this every time I get on the show, people are like, yo, what's the one thing you want people to understand? I was like, we are the culture.
Period.
Black folks, brown folks, everybody cribs off our stuff and they get to us late. So
Yeah.
by the time we already left the dope thing, now they catching on to it and making money off it. So
Yep.
that's the thing to understand that that's a part of that
You
equation too.
you
So you
you
got to
know
know that.
I know that
Yes.
firsthand. Like
Yes.
super firsthand. So
Uh-huh.
trust me, I'm with you 100 billion% on that. You know what I'm saying?
You
So
know?
what for the last question, bro, and
Yeah.
that bucket list in terms of Gary Vee and stuff like that, we
Yeah.
gonna make that happen, B. We gonna
You're gonna
make
do
that
it.
happen, son. I'm serious. Even once everything open up and like you gotta take a trip to New York to go directly to the office, we gonna figure that out and make that happen.
I'm down.
Before I give you that last question, Gary Vee is amazing. I love Gary Vee. I adopted him. That's my brother for real. Like I don't care. Gary Vee, Tyler, my boy Zane, like the whole team over there is family. I love them. They open doors, open arms to me whenever I come through. I love the VaynerMedia team. You know what I'm saying? Period. So I got a song I'm gonna send you that I did inspired by VaynerMedia called Champion. Like this is real when I tell you, like that team over there is incredible. Incredible.
I love it.
So the last question, bro, and I ask everybody this, but what was the moment in your life when you felt like you was at your lowest and things just couldn't work for you, but you managed to find strength in that moment that allowed you to be successful today?
Ooh, I mean, there's two, I would say. One, I was unemployed back home in New York. I was working a job as a process server.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, I've had mad jobs, fam. Like I've done when people are like, "Yo, how did you get to Intel? What's the things you've been doing now?" I was like, "Yo, I've been a camp counselor. I was a school aide in the public school system. I was I worked retail. I worked food service. I worked as a process server. I did all this stuff, and I worked as a
Wow.
process server. And I remember the day when I was supposed to do a serve for somebody, and I rolled up to Cat and I was like, "Yo, are you such and such?" And he was like, "Yo, who are you?" Because you know how it is. You can't roll up on nobody in New York and be like, "Yo, ask you talk about your name," and they don't know you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like people are like, "Yo, who this? Yo, who this? I'll fight you in the street." and I rolled up on dude and I was like, "Yo, are you such and such?" And he looked at me and he bolted. He ran. He jetted. And I was like, "I'm not chasing anybody for $20 because that's what the serve was for. You get $20 a
Wow.
serve." And I was like, "I'm not chasing anybody around the block to give them a piece of paper that's going to benefit them." And I
Yeah.
was like, "I'm not going to do it. There's no reason I'm going to spend my life doing that kind of thing." So that was one moment. And I was like super broke. I was like trying to determine if I was going to get a Metro card or if I was going to eat. And I was
Wow.
like, "Yo,
I know
I don't
those
know how
moments
that's going to
too.
work." Yeah, I was like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to try to figure this out. I'm gonna have to take my fat behind and try to jump this turnstile for I got the money I got to eat." So that was one moment. And then the other part was probably around the time that Spawn and me had our breakup. Because I was super down about all of it. I have my brothers who I love, who we couldn't figure out a way to make it work. I didn't know. I was feeling stagnant about the content, didn't know and have direction about where that was supposed to go in a real way. I had been spending so much time, effort, and money and not seeing the numbers grow for the show. Mind you, like, again, we've been in the hole forever in terms of, the actual, like, how much money the show has made as opposed to how much money my family has put into Spawn
Yeah.
on me and my wife over the past 7 years. And we're still in the red. We're still not in the black on any of that stuff, even though we're making a little bit of money now. And that was a hard time. That was real difficult because, again, you feel like you failed people, which to me is the biggest thing. I don't care if I fail myself. I've been a failure for most of my life. This is the first thing that's been successful for me in a real way. Um, so that part doesn't bother me. But when I ask other people for their time and feel like I failed them, that to me is bothersome. Like that to me feels like it sucks.
Yeah.
And that was just hard. It was just hard to understand that that was not a thing that was going to work, and then trying to figure out how to take those emotions and put that into a space that felt like you could build off of that and try to get into a better and more productive space. And again, I got to give shouts out to family. I got to give shouts out to friends. Shout out to the fam, Uriah. Shout out
Yeah.
to Paris.
I do.
Shout out because again, like when you do this work, you commiserate a lot. You know what I mean? You talk about your failures. You talk about things aren't working. You talk about how you can get better. And a lot of times those things don't work, but you still have people around you who can be like, nah, you doing the thing. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. And that was it. Like, again, that Gary V video, that conversation with those cats, my wife has held me down for all this time and believed in me and being like, yo, you doing the thing. And I remember very specifically, we got an email from somebody who's out in the Netherlands. And this was like probably in like year 4 or 5. And they were like, hey, I've never listened to a podcast around Blackness and video games. This is the first time I'm listening to the show. And you've opened my eyes to the conversation in a way that I never expected and didn't understand. Wow. And I took that email and I put that in a room and it's in a frame. And it's like, oh, so the work is actually getting done. And that was it. And I was like, all right, so now we keep pushing. We keep moving.
Bro, I'm going to tell you right now, man, I love you, man. Like, I really mean that, man. I love you, man, because everything is connected to my grandma. Everything that, I do is all connected to my grandma. Rest in peace.
Same.
So when I see anything that's amazing and great, especially in the culture, I get hyped, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm on it. So thank you for being you. And you better not stop. I won't allow it. You know what I'm saying? So you have no choice, B. You got too many people to impact. You know what I'm saying? You got a whole nother generation of kids that's going to come up and still watch you and appreciate you too, bro. So I love you. I love this. This is crazy, man. Is there anything you want to say to your fans before we get up out of here, B?
First of all, I got to thank you. I don't think you get the credit you deserve for having laid the foundation in the ways that you have. And I think that is important to say out loud. Again, it's a conversation about giving people their flowers while they're here. And I think when people came to your work initially, you were an anomaly, fam. You were like, I don't know what this guy's supposed to be doing. I don't know what he's knocking out of the box. But you continue to be you in every single way. And that definitely is a beautiful thing. So thank you for that, especially. I got to just thank everybody in Chicago, man. Chicago has been a fantastic place to learn. All of our Chicago residents have continued to be, the thing that drives this work going forward. I am a reflection of that community in a real way. I've never not been me, which has always been great. I've always tried to be exactly who I am in every aspect that I am. When I'm tired, when I'm mad, when I'm upset, it comes through the work. When I want to try to figure out ways to inspire people, it comes out through the work. And the beauty of it is that it feels like it's resonating in real ways. And, it's been into year 7, which is nuts to even say out loud. Because this is the thing that I've stuck with the longest out of anything I've ever done. Wow. Anything I've ever done.
You know what you did? What you did was you stepped into your purpose, bro.
This gave me purpose.
Into your purpose.
This show has definitely given me purpose. And that is a thing to not take lightly. Because it is very difficult in a life that is so short to understand that, the time that you're spending here has worth, and the time that you try to spend on here has worth. So again, if you're out here listening and you're trying to figure out, and you're struggling and trying to figure out what the next step is for you, try to be around people who understand who you are and can elevate that. Try to be around people who understand that you have a voice and can elevate that. Try to be around people who don't BS and get them to elevate you, because BSing ain't the move, fam. You got limited time on this planet. You have a limited time on this earth. Get as much of it as you possibly can while you can. And I'll leave everybody with that. Much love to everybody. Again, check out all the work, spawnonme.com. We're a Fan Bites network for podcasts, twitch.tv/spawnonme is where you can find that stuff. youtube.com/spawnonme is where you can find the new work. We've been growing that pretty well. And again, Spawn on Me podcast on IG is where we're trying to do some more work over there. I need to borrow some tips from you, fan, because you killing it over there. So I gotta figure out all that stuff.
Yo, listen, we about to wrap this up. I gotta holler at you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
About some stuff. So I'm gonna holler at you. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. Make sure y'all show my dude some love. You know what I'm saying? Blacks in Gaming Award winner. You know what I'm talking about? Spawn on Me all day. It's the one and only HipHopGamer, Logitech G family on your Hot 97 every day. That's my word. And we out of here, baby. God bless. Peace.